I'm Lucy Jackson, Assistant Professor in Ancient Greek Literature.
I'm Erin Lee, Head of Archive at the National Theatre.
In this series of films, Erin and I will be looking at some of the Greek tragedies that have been staged at the National Theatre. Using the records held in the theatre's archive as a starting point, we'll look at the practicalities of staging an ancient Greek play in a modern theatre building.
The archive is home to thousands of items, from photographs to prompt scripts, technical drawings to set models, dating all the way back to our opening night in 1963. Every production has left behind some traces of the multiple artistic choices and practical considerations that go into making a performance.
By exploring these plays as staged productions, rather than as pieces of literature, we begin to see these ancient works in a new light. Going behind the scenes of the productions makes us ask fresh questions about why these plays and their myths are still relevant today.
The use of masks by all 16 performers in Peter Hall's Oresteia was a key, perhaps defining feature of the production. By looking at the range of materials held in the archive, we see that they were central for the creative team's vision. Masks were at the very beginning of the process and continued to be a point of discussion well after opening night. Jocelyn Herbert notes they provide a form and a kind of ritual to the production.
In ancient Greek theatre, the mask was used to help distinguish between the age and the gender of each character. Masks also allowed the same actor to play multiple parts. In the vastness of open theatres, they wouldn't have helped accentuate a specific emotion or to amplify actors' voices. The excellent acoustics of these performance spaces are legendary.
The team took inspiration from all they could find about ancient Greek masks through their research. But they also looked at statues and masks from a variety of ancient and modern cultures, such as Japanese, Javanese, Minoan and Etruscan.
All three plays of the Oresteia, as with many Greek tragedies, feature brilliant female characters. Clytemnestra, Queen of Argos; Cassandra, the prophet who is doomed never to be believed; Electra, a princess who refuses to forget her murdered father; and of course, the Furies, the female goddesses of vengeance. All of these female characters in Peter Hall's Oresteia were played by men. The use of masks supported the director's choice to cast only male actors in this production. It also works to highlight bigger questions about gender in the play. Clytemnestra is described at the very beginning as being like a man. Much of the conflict in the original trilogy comes from characters pushing against what is usually expected of their gender. This challenges the audience to face their own assumptions about gender and who can play female and male characters. Performed in the early 1980s, after 2 decades of feminist activism in this country and around the world, the gender politics of the play was clearly a point of discussion for this creative team.
The use of masks was not without its challenges, and the team had to fight quite hard to defend this central choice. Volume and clarity of actors' speech was an ongoing concern. At times, the actors seemed to have tried to compensate for this by shouting. It took months of work to design masks that would minimise muffling and for the actors to get used to this new kind of delivery. Even then, some reviewers were unconvinced. Despite these challenges and sceptical attitudes, director Peter Hall and designer Jocelyn Herbert were adamant about their artistic choice. In one newspaper feature, they discuss how the point of the mask was not purely to imitate ancient practice, but to contain the potentially overwhelming emotions of the tragic figures.
Greek tragedy, as with many other theatrical traditions, focuses on elemental human struggles: vengeance, betrayal, death, murder, love for your children, lust for a romantic partner, loyalty to your siblings, obligation to your rulers, and the desire to revolt against injustice. For this creative team, they found a way to explore the magnitude of these human emotions by distilling them through the form of the mask.
As we've seen in other Greek tragedies at the National Theatre, the chorus is an essential component of production design. In many sketches of the set, the designer Jocelyn Herbert includes the chorus, just as she includes the stage or the stage building. The intense focus on the chorus from early workshops to the movement and the delivery of the lines shows that the chorus was and can act as a moving part of the set.
Contrary to many other more modern productions, this staging of the Oresteia chorus is about as far away from a group of individuals as you can get. The use of masks for all performers means that it becomes very difficult to distinguish which actor is saying or doing what. This was something that was actually highlighted by the company in the programme. Audiences weren't told which actor was playing the individual characters. The cast list says, "The names of the actors are not shown against the parts they play because this seems in keeping with the spirit of a masked production and of a text in which the main role is the chorus."
This limiting of individual appearance runs counter to a lot of what is taught in theatre and acting schools in this country, but it also unlocks some surprising and striking effects that could be used by the director to achieve his dramatic goals. As we can see from the records of early workshops and rehearsals, the director and the actors had to work hard to find new methods to speak, move and act without being able to use their facial expressions. In a way that isn't so significant with more naturalistic styles of acting, gestures become more powerful. The turn of a head, the raise of an arm, these seem to communicate meaning more clearly once facial expressions aren't available. Amongst a lot of movement, the use of stillness also takes on extra dramatic weight. The effect of a wall of masked and still performers is extremely striking and powerful.
The masks also had an impact on the actors playing in the chorus. Jocelyn Herbert notes that they actually began to move differently after putting on female masks and having cloth draped over their heads. During a workshop with earlier versions of the Furies masks, the actors' movement became almost too unnerving and too animal-like. Jocelyn notes that to avoid this, she had to revise the design of those masks. The production moved further away from naturalism with the way the cast interacted with music. The chorus's delivery was extremely rhythmical and often set to music, specially created for this production by the composer Harrison Birtwistle. We can see traces of the way the text was broken up and accented in the performance script. This created variety in some of the longer choral odes, but at some points even resembled the rhythms of modern rap songs. What I find so impressive about the chorus in this Oresteia is that even though the methods of performing were inspired by ancient techniques, the whole company kept experimenting with new methods of performing. There were so many new challenges that the actors and the whole creative team had never had to grapple with before. New ways of speaking their lines behind masks, of moving, both individually and as a group, and even new ways of being an ensemble. Despite its antique feel and appearance, this was extremely experimental and cutting edge for the time. The National Theatre Archive really is a unique resource that allows you to get up close to all these incredible productions and explore new interpretations of classic texts.
If you want to come down and see any of this content for yourself, then feel free to contact us via our website.